In this video of ours, we will talk about correction. And this correction stuff has been taken from the CSS English Question Composition paper 2018. Okay. As CSS students know, though this topic might be of equal interest for other students too, but our main target over here is the CSS students, right? So this is paper of 2018. As most of the students know that in the applied grammar, they are asked different things, and one of those things is correction. Clear? So in routine there are 7-8 expressions, and you have to go for 5 or so. But one must be 100% sure instead of guessing that I should try this one, why not two? But practically, whenever you, in your exam, never do this childish thing that, okay, yeah, I will do all these 8 and I leave it to them that how they decide and what. So, be 100% sure that go for 5, but those 5 must be 1 correct. Clear? So, it's very easy to write correct things, right? Even a layman can find sort of reason, okay, there is sort of flaw over here. But the main thing is how to actually find the root cause of that. Okay? So, it's not something cramming, something like cramming. You should actually try to develop the concept. So these are not just 8 expressions, these are 8 concepts, and from every concept, different concept, offshoots are there. Okay. So let me just skim it through once. The first expression is, they only work when they have no money. The second is, they left the hotel here, they had been staying in a motor car. The third one is, I cannot by no means allow you to do so. The fourth is, my friend said he never remembered having read a more enjoyable book. The fifth is, going up the hill, an old temple was seen. The fifth is, one day the bird did not perform certain tricks which had thought it to his satisfaction. The seventh is, I was rather impressed by the manner of the orator than by his matter. The last is, what an awful weather. Okay. It is just a bludge, it is just nothing, right? So, problem is over here. But that is just a futile exercise until unless you do actually delve into that thing, you actually find the very true reason behind that. It is just, it's of no use. Clear? So let's start with the first one. And one thing more, at this level, CSS level, one can correct a thing in different ways. Sometimes, there can be more than one ways of doing the same thing. So it sounds childish that problem is over here. Sometimes one will say, okay, if we modify it like this, it's okay. If we aim like this, it's okay. So your spectrum should be plotted like this. Clear? The first is, they only work when they have no money. Expression is very simple. Can anyone guess? Anyone of you? They only work when they have no money. And this sort of mistakes are there in so many papers. In the previous paper of 2019, in 2 previous videos of mine, I think 1-2 expressions were of this sort. So I have already in a way discussed this thing, but let me re-case it. They only work when they have no money. Apparently it's okay. But do you find, just think for a while, they only work. Over here, the expression is actually focusing on this thing. The meaning is, they just work. They just work when they have no money. That means when they have no money, when they're short of money, so they only work. They just work. Does it sound good? Actually, I told you in the previous lecture too, First of all, go for the keyword, right? Try to find the keyword. over here the keyword is work. The keyword is work. First, take this, they work, right? And then modify that thing. They work, and then we change that thing. How? They work actually only is not at this proper place. They work, clear, and then you change that thing. They work only when they have no money. Are you getting? No. They work, it's okay, and then you change that thing. They work when? Only when they have no money. So only actually is an adverb, and it was not at its proper place. Okay, they work, then, and then when? Only when they have no. So just change this position, it's okay. Clear? Rather, in these expressions, there is another mistake that is almost of the same sort, I think, if you suppose, take this one. I was rather impressed by the manner of the orator than by his matter. Once again, there is no actually proper placement, right? It gives the impression that I was rather impressed. I was rather impressed. You are focusing on this thing. Rather is actually changing the meaning of the word impressed. I was rather impressed. Right? In this expression, actually we don't want to say this thing. We want to say something different. And that is, I was, go for the keyword. Main word over here is this. First, take this thing. The expression would be what? I was, yes, keyword is impressed. Okay? I was impressed. This is your keyword, and then change this word. I was impressed, you were impressed by what? You were impressed by what? I was impressed, and then there are two things. Yes, manner of the orator and his stuff or matter. Two things are there. Okay? So I was impressed. How? In what sense? Then you change that. I was impressed by what? By this thing. I was impressed, okay, by I was impressed, and then change that by what? I was impressed, and bring rather after that. I was impressed, then rather, and then you change that rather by this thing, then this thing. Are you getting? No. I was impressed, I got impressed, and then rather by this thing than this thing. So rule is almost the same, right? This is, so the same rule actually is being applied over here. First go for the main word and then you, right? If I say, he only talks slowly but stupidly. It is just by the way. He only talks slowly. And if you just, he not only talks slowly, but also stupidly. Can you guess? Once again, the problem is over here. What? We have used only over here. This gives the impression that we are trying to change the meaning of the word talks. He only talks. Actually, in this expression, we don't want to say that thing. We just want to say he, the key word is he talks. First, find this word, he talks, and then change that. He talks, then say not only, okay, right, slowly, and then, but also, whatever, stupid. Clear? So, it's not that a big game, but if you don't actually understand the thing, then it's okay, there is no mistake. Clear? So, find the keyword, main verb, whatever, and then modify that. So, these two expressions have almost the same style. Clear? Go for the next one. I cannot by no means allow you to do so. Yes. So, we have discussed this mistake, right, in the previous video too. It is, can anyone guess, any of you? So, I cannot and by no means. We are actually, as I told you earlier too, we are not supposed to use double negative. What? Double negative. Yes, what's meant by double negative? Suppose these expressions, I cannot by no means. Both these expressions are actually reinforcing the same idea. Cannot is something negative. By no means is something negative. So, it is sort of double negative. So, we are not supposed to use double negative. Clear? In a way, technically we can call it what? Redundancy error, right? So, redundancy error, what can you recall? Redundancy error. That was repetition of thoughts, ideas, words, right? Redundancy is something negative, as I told you earlier. Redundant means something extra, useless. Redundancy error means you are actually, I think it's already clear, and you are saying the same thing as I told you earlier. Suppose after return, if you use the word back, so we see back is not required. When you are returning, obviously you are coming back. So over here, it is sort of a redundancy error, but redundancy error is in the form of double negative. So you have to avoid this. You have to avoid this. We are not supposed to use double negative. This is something bad. It is something bad. Clear? So the expression would, now what do you think? Expression would become like what? I cannot by no means. And once again, we can change it in different ways. I cannot, if you just ignore this thing. I cannot allow you to do so. It's okay. Right? I cannot allow you to, we have tossed this thing, it's okay. No? But it's not in the Bible and the Quran that this is something fine. I cannot allow you, okay, to do whatever. It's okay. Any other way of correcting it can be like what? Suppose they say, I, if you, yes, ignore this thing. I, by no means, allow you to do so. I, by no means, allow you to do so. So, it is not incorrect. Technically, it's okay. But it's actually, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good. Otherwise, it's okay. I, by no means, allow you to do so. Right? Expression is fine, but it's not actually, it doesn't sound good. So the best way is, right, ignore this thing. I, yes, can not allow you to do so or whatever. Clear? The next expression is, my friend said he never remembered having read a more enjoyable book. Expression is a bit complicated and it can be changed in different ways. It depends on actually your perception, right? Actually, what do you actually take out of that? So, my friend never is not actually giving its proper sense. Okay? Having read. My friend said he never remembered. In this expression, there is nothing like that whether he never remembered or something. The expression should be something simple. My friend said, he's just saying that he actually cannot recall or he does not remember. Okay? So, in the past it would become something like my friend said, he, yes, my friend said, okay, my friend said, whatever. If I say he did not remember. So I think this expression is quite simple. He did not remember. He did not remember. No need of making it he never remembered. It gives perhaps you want to say something very strange, very quizzical. Having read, can you, what's meant by having read? Having read actually, technically, it is called what? Past participle. No, having plus third form, right? Technically it's called perfect participle. Perfect participle. So you would have heard present participle, past participle. Perfect participle is a bit uncommon, but this structure is used when we talk about something before, after completing something. Suppose we say, having read that book, I left for the park. Okay. So having the third form means, suppose we say, having, okay, having confirmed my result. Okay. Having confirmed my result. That means what? It means after completely confirming. And that thing is over. That is complete. That's why it's called perfect. I left for home. I left for home. In some expressions, this structure is very much required. But over here, do you think it's required in this expression? My friend said he did not remember, as I have written over here, having read a more enjoyable book. That gives the impression of reading that, after completing the process of actually reading that book. In this expression, we don't want to say anything of that sort. We are just saying he did not remember, right? Focus is on reading. So expression would be what? He did not remember. Yes. He did not remember. If I, instead of having read, if I say he did not remember reading, just like this, reading a more enjoyable book or whatever. This is correct. He did not remember reading a more enjoyable book. But one thing, once again, I have actually dilated upon this thing in so many videos. Reading over here is being used as what? It's not continuous form. It's not present participle. It is being used as gerund over here. So, reading technically is being used as gerund. Right? Gerund means the process of that. The process of reading. The process of reading. Right? So, we need a simple gerund instead of write this perfect participle. So, the expression would become like what? My friend said he did not remember what? Reading a more enjoyable book. That he did not remember that he ever read any other book who was actually more interesting than this book. Clear? Okay. So, going up the hill, an old temple was seen. This is something new. It was not part of the previous videos. Going up the hill, yes. Actually, the expression that follows, right, the previous expression, this, going up the hill, the thing that follows this thing, that is actually modified. So, in this we get the impression that going up the hill, an old temple, perhaps an old temple was going up the hill. Are you getting? The expression that follows this, actually that has some sort of relation with this one. Going up the hill, an old temple. So, its meaning is an old temple was trying to, right, go up the hill. So, obviously it is very strange, right, nonsensical. So, we have to modify it in a way that, right, there is sort of right proper sequence. And for that we, technically we call this what? We call it dangling modifier. Okay? Technically this thing is called dangling modifier. Dangling modifier. Okay. A dangling modification. What's meant by the word dangle? Dangle stands for when something is unstable. Right? So this table is dangling a bit. It's a bit shaky. It's not stable. Clear? Otherwise, dangling is a very, this word is of very much interest, right, of actually students of your age group. Dangler is a person who runs after girls. And dangling is that process of chasing girls and bowing and hooting and something like that. But over here, we are not using it in that sense. Over here, dangle means when something is not, right, stable. So, dangling modifier means that this thing is not giving proper actually this thing and this thing. They have no actually proper relation. So we have to modify it in a way that right sort of sequence is there. So there can be different ways. There is no absolute rule for it. You modify it in a way, then there is sort of relation. Suppose I say, going up the hill. You just keep in mind who was going up the hill. Who was going up the hill? Suppose I say, yes, going up the hill. Okay. For proper modification, just use any word like suppose he, she, right? Johnson, Taylor, whatever. Going up the hill, suppose I say Johnson. Now, don't you think modification is proper? Who was going up the hill? Johnson. Relation is proper. It is no more dangling. Clear? So, now, over here, actually, Old Temple was going up the hill. In this expression, Johnson is going up the hill. So obviously, you can guess very easily that it sounds logical, right? So, but overall expression should be like what? Going up the hill. Suppose you say Johnson or whatever. A Nasir. If you say Nasir, an Old Temple was seen. The expression doesn't sound. So, you have to change it a bit. Going up the hill, Johnson, suppose, saw an Old Temple. Now you have to change it a bit just to maintain that sequence. Johnson or whatever saw an Old Temple. Can you? So, in this expression, relation is fine. In this expression, going up the hill, it was dangling like this because Old Temple was going up the hill. Now, Johnson is going up the hill. And then, just sense-wise, you can add some words. He or she saw an Old Temple. Clear? I was, one day the bird did not perform certain tricks which had taught it to his satisfaction. With integrate expression, it can be taken in different ways, right? You have to actually form sort of sequence. One day the bird did not perform certain tricks. You can very easily guess which had taught. What's this? Right? Actually, I think it is sort of right. Misprint like, otherwise, even in routine, it should be taught, not thought. That's what I think. Okay? Suppose it is thought. Let's make it taught. Which had taught it? It is referring to what? It is referring to this thing, the bird. In the previous video, I did discuss in detail that the rule of antecedent. The rule of antecedent, it means the thing that precedes. The bird is actually over here antecedent. That's why we are using it, okay, to this pronoun to refer to this bird. Okay. Now you just adjust it somehow. One day the bird did not perform certain tricks which had taught it to his satisfaction. So obviously, logically, someone would have taught that bird something. So if I change it a bit, if I say, one day the bird did not perform certain tricks, okay, which had taught, if you say which he or she had taught. Clear? No sequence is fine. Which she had taught, it means that bird, and to his satisfaction, because over here we are saying his satisfaction. So we cannot use she. Obviously it could be he. So the expression would become like what? One day the bird did not perform certain tricks which he had taught it, that bird, to his satisfaction. Expression is a bit difficult, but it's not that difficult. I don't think it is taught. Actually, it should have been taught, right? Sometimes, like when they print something, this sort of mistakes are there. Clear? And we have already, I think, talked about this thing. And the last is, what an awful weather. What an awful weather. Yes, I think we have discussed this point too. Technically, this thing is called, yes, dictionary. Dictionary, right? In the previous lectures too, I said something like this, that dictionary stands for what? Diction error. Can anyone recall? Diction error was that we did discuss this thing, that words are not incorrect, but they are not at their proper place, right? Suppose in the previous there was an expression, he was abusing the money of his father. So we were saying that abuse is not giving sense over here, because one can misuse, one can splurge, one can profligate, right, someone's money, but one cannot abuse. One can abuse authority. So dictionary means sometimes the word suppose, right, abuse, you change with misuse. It depends. Sometimes suppose you use the word misuse, in that situation perhaps this word might be required. So words are correct. So the word, what an awful weather. You can guess, right? It is exclamatory sort of sentence. You're appreciating something, you're realizing that thing. Oh, what a lovely weather, what a. So we need some word that gives that touch. Awful is a bit uncommon, but not that uncommon. Awful means what? Awful has negative tone. Something that is very disgusting, right? It has negative tone. Let's see, that is really an awful situation. It's very bad, very poor. So obviously in this expression, we are appreciating that thing. We are panderizing that thing. We are eulogizing that thing. So we need some word. Just replace this word with any word that gives that impression of positivity. Suppose instead of awful, I say, all of you say, most of the students use this word very much, that awesome. Awesome performance, awesome video, whatever. It's okay. And any word that gives the impression of positivity. Simple, pleasant. So this is called dictionary, right? So we discussed this thing in, right, in the previous videos too, that words are not incorrect, but they, suppose you say, situation says, when you want to say what, if you say, the situation is really very, very bad. In that situation, if you say, situation is really awesome, but that is incorrect. In that situation, you need awful. So this was the story, and just let me flick it through once. In the first expression is modification, misplaced modification was, this was misplaced modification. We did discuss this thing, right? Right? And then the second, I did forget this. They left the hotel. Here they had been staying in a motor car. Sorry for all that. So once again, what? They had been staying in a defining. The rule over here is that it can be called defining characteristic. Defining characteristic. Defining characteristic. That means what? Characteristic. Once again, the problem is almost the same, right? Sequence is not proper. Things are not right in the proper sequence. They left the hotel, okay? And this word should be what? Change this word. They left the hotel with some word. I have seen actually some solution. They have solved like this. They left the hotel in a motor car, and then where they had been staying. So once again, it is misplaced modification. So defining characteristic says that just define the thing. Suppose they left the hotel, and now we are defining this hotel. Why? We place this here with where. So these words, where they had been staying. This expression, this clause is defining this hotel. They left the hotel, and what was the characteristic of that hotel? It means they were staying in that. And then you just add additional word. They left the hotel where they had been staying, and then add in a motor car. If you say they left the hotel in a motor car, and if you use this expression where they had been staying, the expression would be, right, illogical in the sense that modification is not proper. Here one gets the impression they left the hotel in a motor car, and the defining characteristic of that motor car is that they had been staying in that, perhaps in that car. So you have to avoid misplaced modification. Okay, just let me make a sort of sketch of it. Clear? Proper positioning. The second, almost the same. Proper order of the things. The third, avoiding double negative. The fourth, overall sense of the expression, right? The fifth, dynamic modification. The fifth, right, it can be taken in different ways. Three things were there. We have discussed that. And this one, once again, the keyword should be actually considered first, and then we have to change that. And this, the last one is a diction error. That words are fine, but they are not actually giving proper sense in that expression. So I think it's enough. Thank you very much for being so